When you think about ancient Rome, your mind probably jumps straight to the big ruins, right? The Colosseum, the forums, all that incredible stone.
Of course.
But honestly, the most important things the Romans ever built are, well, they're completely invisible.
That's so true. They're not made of stone. They're made of the words we use every single day and the basic laws that shape our lives.
Exactly. And that's what we're digging into. We're unlocking the direct connections between their world and your world.
Right down to the words you're texting and the idea of a fair trial. It's a legacy that is very, very much alive.
Okay, so let's start with the big one, the language.
Yeah.
Latin, it's often called a dead language, but it genuinely never died.
Not at all. It just, evolved. It started in this tiny pocket of central Italy.
And then?
Well, the Roman Empire was the engine. As they conquered, Latin went with them. It wasn't just suggested, it was required.
Required for what exactly?
For everything official. Government, business, and maybe most importantly, the army. Every soldier, every administrator, every merchant had to use it.
So it became the language of power.
Absolutely. And that's why its success was so staggering. I mean, get this. The Western Roman Empire falls apart in 476 AD.
Right.
But Latin doesn't. It was so deeply embedded in the culture, in schools, in religion, that it stayed the main language for education for, 1,000 years after the empire was gone.
1,000 years. That's incredible staying power.
It really is. And what happened next is fascinating. You have to imagine the empire was like this huge communications network.
Okay.
When that network goes down, all these regions like Gaul, which is now France, and Iberia, which is Spain, they're suddenly cut off from each other.
And without that central control, I guess their Latin starts to change.
Exactly. It's like different bands covering the same song. Over centuries, they each turn it into something new, something unique.
And that's where the Romance languages come from.
That's it. Languages that literally grew out of the Roman world. We're talking Italian, French, Spanish, Portuguese, Romanian. They're all family.
You can totally see it, too. Like, the Latin word for mother is mater.
Yep. Which becomes madre in Spanish and Italian.
And mère in French. Well, you learn one, the others get so much easier because they all share that same Roman DNA.
But here's the really surprising part. Let's talk about English.
Because English is not a Romance language, right? It's Germanic.
Structurally, yes. It's closer to German or Dutch. But, and this is a huge but, if you look at our vocabulary, something like 60% of all English words come from Latin.
60%. That's more than half. How did that happen?
One single event, really. The Norman conquest of England in 1066. The Normans brought their language, which was a form of French, and for hundreds of years that was the language of the people in charge.
The rulers, the courts, the schools.
Precisely. It didn't wipe out the old Anglo-Saxon English, but it added this massive, sophisticated layer on top of it.
So the simple everyday words are often Germanic, like house or cow.
Exactly. But the more complex or official words tend to be Latin-based. Words like justice, government, parliament.
It's why we have two ways of saying things. Like, you can ask a question, which is Germanic?
Or you can inquire, which is from Latin. It just sounds a bit more formal, a little more precise.
Even words we think are super modern, like computer or library or education.
All straight from Latin.
That precision is really the key, isn't it? It's not just whole words, it's the building blocks.
Yes. The roots, prefixes, suffixes. This is Latin's practical power for you right now. It's like a cheat code for understanding vocabulary.
Okay, give us an example.
Well, think about the root dict. It means to speak or say.
So that gives you dictate, dictionary, predict.
Contradict, right. Or take vis, which means to see.
Vision, video, invisible. It just clicks. Once you know the root, you can figure out words you've never even seen before.
And that's why science depends on it. Science and medicine use Latin to name everything because it's a dead language. It doesn't change.
It's stable. So a name means the same thing to a scientist in Japan as it does to one in Brazil.
You got it. So really, the main takeaway is that memorizing just a few dozen of these roots gives you the key to unlocking thousands of words. It's probably the most efficient learning tool the Romans left us.
Okay, so if Latin gave us the structure for how we think and communicate,
then Roman law gave us the structure for how we live together.
a perfect transition. Let's talk about that blueprint for justice. The Romans were, well, they were obsessed with creating an organized written system of laws.
And writing it down was the revolutionary part. Before that, laws were just customs, unwritten rules.
Which sounds like a recipe for disaster. A powerful person could just change the rules to suit them.
And they did. all the time. There was no way to prove they were wrong. So to fix that, in 451 BC, the Romans did something huge.
The 12 tables.
The 12 tables. They carved their laws onto 12 bronze tablets and put them in the Roman Forum.
The main public square, not hidden away in some government building.
Right out in the open for everyone to see. Rich, poor, it didn't matter. The law was now public knowledge.
So a judge couldn't just make up a secret ruling.
No, because you could walk over to the tablets and point to the actual law. This established the principle that the law should apply equally to everyone. It was a massive step toward fairness.
And that idea of fairness led to some core principles we still live by.
Absolutely. The Romans defined justice as the constant desire to give every person what they rightfully deserve.
Not revenge, what you deserve.
And that idea, that consistency, it helped keep the whole empire stable. When people trust the rules, they build things, they start businesses, they feel secure.
But I think the biggest single idea they gave us is the one you hear in every courtroom drama.
Innocent until proven guilty.
Innocent until proven guilty.
Innocent until proven guilty. It sounds so obvious to us now.
But it was a radical shift. In a Roman court, the what they called the burden of proof was completely on the person making the accusation.
So it's not on you to prove you're innocent.
No, it's on them, the state, or another person, to prove with strong evidence that you are guilty.
And if they can't, if the evidence is weak or just based on rumor, you have to be set free, period. That one idea is a fundamental shield for every single citizen in a democracy.
Wow. And beyond these big ideas, they also, well, they made law a real profession.
They did. They created these legal experts called jurisconsults.
Which are basically like super lawyers.
Sort of. These were people who spent their entire lives just studying the law. They wrote books about it, they advised judges, they helped regular people understand contracts and wills.
So decisions were based on logic and past examples.
Yeah.
Not just what a judge felt like on a particular day.
Exactly. It turned law into a science, an intellectual discipline.
Which brings us to the guy who saved it all, Justinian.
Yes. So long after the Western Empire fell, the emperor in the East, Justinian, he realized all this amazing legal knowledge, thousands of laws, opinions, books. It was a mess, it was scattered and in danger of just being lost.
So what did he do?
In 534 AD, he put together a team to collect, organize, and simplify everything.
That must have been a monster of a project. It's like trying to organize the entire internet into one book.
That's a great way to think about it. And the result was the Corpus Juris Civilis, which we just call the Justinian Code.
And it didn't just save Roman law.
No, it became the textbook for law students in Europe for centuries. When nations started building their modern legal systems, they didn't start from scratch.
They started with Justinian's Code.
They did. And that's why the legal systems in most of Europe and Latin America are still based directly on its principles. It is probably the most influential legal document in all of history.
So we have the language for our minds and the laws for our society. But what about the structure of our government itself?
That's part 3. When you look at modern democracies, especially in the West, you're really looking at ideas that were first tested in the Roman Republic.
And they were obsessed with one main idea, weren't they?
Absolutely terrified of one person getting too much power. They hated the idea of kings, so they designed a system of checks and balances.
They split the power up.
Brilliantly. You had the consuls, who were kind of like co-presidents. You had the Senate, which controlled the money. And you had assemblies that represented the common people.
And they could block each other, right?
Yes, the famous veto power. That comes directly from Rome. And consuls could only serve for 1 year. It was all designed to prevent a takeover.
Our whole idea of a republic, where we elect people to represent us.
Comes straight from that Roman model. The American founders, when they were designing the U.S. government, they had their Roman history books wide open.
And the names give it away. Our Senate comes from the Latin word for old man, senex.
Yep, the Council of Elders. The lineage is direct.
Finally, let's tie this back to the economy. They also created clear rules about owning things.
Right. Secure private property rights. They understood that for an economy to really work, people had to feel confident that the land or the house they bought was legally theirs.
So you need a contract, a legal document.
You did. And that contract had to be enforceable in court. This security made people willing to invest, to build, and to trade. That's a foundation of modern capitalism, and it started there.
So really, when you pull it all together, Rome's legacy isn't just a bunch of old statues.
Not at all. It's the essential operating system for our society. The words we use, the idea of a fair trial, the structure of our government,
Every time you use a Latin root to figure out a new word or hear about the prosecution having to prove its case, that's Roman influence, right there in front of you.
They gave us the tools for clear thinking and the rules for living together. It's the ultimate invisible infrastructure.
So here's a final thought for you to take away. Think about the newest piece of tech you use today. A smartphone, an app, whatever.
Look at its name. Look at the science behind it. Can you find the Latin roots?
The ancient world is always a lot closer than you think.
Keep studying those roots and keep questioning those principles. You'll find Rome is everywhere.
See you next time.